Level 1. The Cursed Boy. You are born clutching a blood clot in your fist. The shamans go silent when they see it. Your father doesn't flinch. He names you Temujin, after a Tatar warrior he just defeated. That's who you are from day one. Named after an enemy, born with blood in your hand, the year is 1162. The Mongolian steppe stretches in every direction. Frozen, merciless, endless. There are no cities here, no walls, no safety, just grass, wind, horses and tribes that will kill each other over a stolen sheep. You grow up fast because you have to. By age 9, your father takes you to find a bride, a girl named Borte from a neighboring clan. The deal is made, you are left with her family to work and bond, the custom of the steppe. Then a rider comes, your father has been poisoned, the Tatars invited him to eat, he knew something was wrong, he rode anyway, he is dead before he reaches home, you run back and when you arrive the clan is already gone. They left, your mother, your siblings, abandoned, because a dead man's family is a burden. Nobody wants, you are 9 years old, it is winter. You have almost nothing, but you are still breathing. Level 1 complete. You survived something most men wouldn't. Level 2, the caller. Hunger becomes your teacher, your mother. Holin digs roots from frozen ground. You hunt rats, birds, anything. You and your brothers fight over food. One day it goes too far. You and your brother Kassar kill your half-brother Bekter over a fish and a lark. You don't cry about it. You can't afford to. But the steppe remembers everything. A rival clan, the Taichi Ud, rides into your camp one morning. They've been watching. They know a fatherless boy with no protectors is easy prey. They take you. They lock a wooden board around your neck, a kang. Heavy, humiliating. You can't sleep without help, can't eat without someone lifting the board. You are their prisoner, their trophy, their message to anyone who might think Temujin matters. But one night a guard takes pity on you. He loosens the kang while the camp sleeps. You run, you hide in a river, submerged to your chin, ice cold, motionless. For hours, they search, they come close, they don't find you. A man named Sorkin Shira pulls you from the water, hides you in a wool cart, feeds you, sends you south before dawn. You never forget his name. You never forget any name. The ones who helped, the ones who didn't. Level 2 complete, you learn the difference between a man who breaks and a man who waits. Level 3. The first fire, you find your family, you find Borte, you marry her. For a brief moment life is almost quiet. Then the merkids come. 300 riders in the dark. Your camp doesn't stand a chance. You escape barely into the forest of Burkhan Khaldan Mountain, but Borte doesn't make it out. They take her, a trophy, a message, the same way the Taichiud took you. You kneel in the forest, alone, cold, furious, and then you make a choice that changes everything. You don't accept it. You ride to Togrul, a powerful warlord, an old ally of your father. You call in the blood debt. You ride to Jamuga, your childhood blood brother. You swear an oath under the stars. 3 forces unite. You move fast and hit the Merkid camp before dawn. The raid is brutal, swift, total. You find Borte. She is alive. You bring her home, but something shifts in you during that ride back. You felt it. What organized force feels like, what loyalty, strategy, and speed can accomplish. You file that feeling away. Level 3 complete. You stopped running. You started leading. Level 4. The gathering. Word travels fast on the steppe. A horse's gallop. A trader's whisper. A campfire story. They say there's a young chief who rewards his men, who doesn't hoard the loot, who promotes the skilled warrior over the noble-born coward. They come to you, slowly at first. A clan here. A family there. Men with nothing to lose and everything to prove. You give them structure. You divide your army into groups of 10, 100, 1,000, decimal units, discipline like the steppe has never seen. You create a rule. No one attacks and loots without an order. Every prisoner is processed, every horse is counted, everything is distributed fairly. This is unheard of. This is why they stay. But power creates enemies even faster than it creates allies. Jamuga watches you. He was your blood brother. Now he sees you pulling clans that should bow to him. The tension grows slow, like ice cracking. Then it breaks. He moves against you. Other tribes join him. The Battle of Dalan Balzut. Your first real defeat. You are pushed back. Men die. You don't collapse. You study what went wrong. You rebuild. You recruit harder. You train longer. 18 months later you ride back. Level 4 complete. You lost a battle. You refuse to lose the war. Level 5. The name. One by one. The tribes fall. the Tatars, the people who poisoned your father, you destroy them completely. Every male taller than a wagon wheel, gone. Your personal debt, paid in full. The Karates, the Naimans, the Merkits, again, and finally, Enjamuga, your blood brother. He is captured by his own men and handed to you bound. He asks for a noble death, no blood spilled, you grant it. You have him executed by breaking his back, honorable by steppe standards, you weep. They say he was the only man who ever truly knew you before you became this. Then 1206, every Mongol clan, every chief, every warrior, they gather on the banks of the Onon River. A white banner is raised, 9 tails, one for each tribe now united. The shamans speak. The crowd roars, and they give you a name. Genghis Khan, universal ruler, oceanic king, the one whose name will reach places no Mongol horse has ever stepped. You are 40 years old. You spent 30 of those years surviving, bleeding, losing, and learning. Now the world has no idea what's coming. Level 5 complete. Temujin is dead. Genghis Khan has risen. Level 6. The machine. You don't celebrate long. Celebration is for men who have arrived. You are always moving. You turn south. Shisha, a powerful kingdom nestled between the Gobi Desert and the mountains. Fortified cities, walls, armies. You've never fought a siege before. You learn fast. Your engineers study. You capture Chinese engineers who know how to break walls. You bring them into your army, reward their skill, use their knowledge. Shisha bends the knee. Then the Jin dynasty, northern China, the most powerful empire on earth. Their emperor sends an envoy to demand your tribute, your bow, your submission. You spit south toward the Jin capital and ride away. Then you come back with 200,000 horsemen. You breach the Great Wall. You don't tear it down. You simply go around the weakest point. The wall only works if someone is watching it. The Jin scramble. Their cavalry is strong in open land, so you drag them into corridors, valleys, ambushes. You cut their supply lines. You starve their garrisons. Beijing falls in 1215. You ride through the gates of a city of 1 million people and you feel almost nothing. Because this is just one city, and there are so many more. Level 6 complete, the Conqueror has become a strategist. The strategist has become unstoppable. Level 7. The mistake that costs 1 million lives. You reach out west now, the Khwarazmian Empire, Persia, Central Asia. You send a trade caravan, 450 merchants, a message of commerce, of peace, of mutual profit. The Shah of Khwarezm, Muhammad II, has them executed, accuses them of being spies. You send 3 ambassadors to demand explanation and compensation. He executes one, shaves the heads of the others, sends them back humiliated. The steppe goes quiet when the news reaches you. You walk to the Burkhan Khaldun mountain alone. You pray for 3 days, then you come down. What you say next is recorded by every scribe in your camp. I did not want this war, he chose it. You ride west with the largest army the world has ever seen. What follows is not a war, it is an erasure. Otrar, the city where your merchants were killed, besieged for 5 months, then leveled. Samarkand, a jewel of civilization, a city of mathematics, poetry, and medicine, falls in 15 days. The survivors are marched outside the walls, counted, sorted, skilled workers taken, soldiers killed, the rest released or enslaved depending on whether they resisted. Merv, one of the largest cities on Earth, resists. Every living thing inside is killed. Historians will write that survivors counted the dead for 13 days and stopped before they finished. Nishapur, the Shah's birthplace, razed so completely that the ruins are plowed and seeded with barley, so nothing grows back. You don't enjoy this. You don't stop either. Because on the steppe there is one universal law that every tribe, every child, every rider knows from birth. If you show weakness, you die. If you break your word, you die. If you disrespect the Khan, you disappear. The Shah flees. He dies alone on an island in the Caspian Sea. No tomb, no burial. Hiding from your scouts until his last breath. Level 7 complete. The world learns what it costs to disrespect you. The world never forgets. Level 8. The weight of the world. You are past 50 now. The body that rode through blizzards and desert heat is slowing. The fall from a horse during a hunt leaves you injured. You hide it. A Khan does not limp in public, but at night you feel it. You begin to think about what happens after you. You call your sons together, Yochi, Chagatai, Ogade, Tolui. You try to settle the succession now while you still can. Yochi, your eldest, might not even be yours. He was born 9 months after Borte's capture by the Merkits. You never say it openly, but everyone wonders, even Yochi. The tension between your sons is real, dangerous. You name Ogedei your successor, a compromise, a man all sides can accept, but you know the moment you are gone the fractures will widen. You know this because you have watched it your entire life, and still you build. You establish the YAM, a relay system, riders stationed every 20 miles across your entire empire. A message from China can reach Persia in days. Your word travels faster than any army. You draft the yasa, your law code, written down for the first time in Mongolian script. No more oral tradition, no more I didn't know. The law is the law. For everyone, you grant religious freedom across all conquered lands. Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, shamans, all permitted to practice, all required to pray for the Khan. You are building something designed to outlive you, you just don't know by how much. Level 8. Complete, the conqueror becomes an architect, the empire becomes a civilization. Level 9. The final ride. Shisha rebels. They refused to send troops during your western campaign, called it beneath them. And now they think your age is your weakness. They are wrong. One final time. You ride south with your army, through the Gobi, through the cold. At 65 years old, you ride at the front. Your generals beg you to stay back, to command from camp. You don't answer them. The campaign is brutal. The terrain is harder than it's ever been. Your body is failing in ways you can feel but refuse to name. You give your orders from inside a war tent now, but they are precise, detailed. Nothing is left to chance. The Sisha capital is surrounded, starved. It will fall, you know it. But sometime in August of 1227, somewhere in the field between the Gobi and the Yellow River, you die. The cause is debated for 800 years. A hunting injury, an illness, an arrow wound that never healed, a fever, no one agrees. Because you ordered it, kept secret. You don't want the enemy to know. You don't want your men to stop fighting. Your body is carried home in secret. A caravan of soldiers surrounds it. Anyone who sees the procession is killed to keep the secret. You are buried in an unmarked grave in the mountains near the Onon River, where you were born, where you prayed, where you began. The soldiers who bury you are killed. The soldiers who kill them are killed. No one knows where you are. To this day, no one does. Level 9 complete. The Khan is gone, but the world he made is just beginning. Level 10, the echo that never ends. Here is what you leave behind. The largest contiguous empire in human history, 24 million square kilometers from the Pacific Ocean to the gates of Eastern Europe. Your grandsons will rule China, Persia, Russia, and Central Asia simultaneously. The trade routes you reopened will carry silk, spice, plague, and ideas across 3 continents. The Black Death, the plague that kills 1 in 3 Europeans, travels the roads your empire built, so does algebra, paper money, noodles, gunpowder. You connected the world faster than the world was ready for. 40 million people died during your campaigns. Cities that existed for 1,000 years became fields of dust. And yet 16 million men alive today carry your direct genetic lineage, more than any other individual in recorded history. The scholars debate you endlessly. Monster, genius, force of nature, necessary destruction, necessary connection. You never cared what anyone called you. You only cared about one thing from the moment you were 9 years old and standing alone in the cold. Never be powerless again. You weren't born powerful. You weren't handed anything. You were abandoned, enslaved, humiliated, left to starve on a frozen steppe, and you turned all of it, every scar, every betrayal, every cold night, into fuel. That is the story of Genghis Khan. Not a king born in a palace, a boy born on the dirt who remade the world. That was your life. 10 levels, 1 name, Genghis Khan.